This interview is brought to you by Comcast Government Services. Find out how Comcast Government Services is providing solutions to the federal government that enable mission-critical network transformation designed to scale with evolving needs. Visit comcastbusiness.com/fedgov to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ross John Fortuna here at AFCEA TechNet Cyber 2024 in Baltimore. With me is Department of Navy CIO Jane Rathbun. Thank you.
Hey, Ross.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
It's been a good conference.
Excellent.
You just came off a panel with CIOs as well, and you talked a lot about interoperability, particularly the idea that you don't need your own thing throughout the Defense Department. And how do you do that when different offices, different services have mission-specific needs?
Yeah, so before I get to the whole Department of Defense not needing their own thing, I really want to get to the Navy, Marine Corps, the Department of Navy, really thinking holistically about especially IT as a strategic asset and how to bring more rapidly and more securely a set of capabilities that can be used by our acquirers, by our warfighters, where they don't have to build their own thing to make it work. And why this is important to interoperability is then I can get to some standards and some guardrails on how we develop, deliver, and secure our software from the mothership to the tactical edge. If everyone's doing their own thing, I'm not sure we're going to get there where we have this rapid deployment of capability to the warfighter.
You also talked about the shift away from platform-centric systems. How is that going to factor into interoperability? Well,
we are platform-based. The Navy operates on ships. It is a giant platform with a lot of different enclaves and capabilities. We are not going to get away from ships, but specifically in my arena, the command and control, the interoperability, really the communications pieces, we see an opportunity to have commonality across all of our platforms. And so it is a platform that supports all other platforms. And doing that again is treating the IT stack as a strategic asset that can deliver capability from anywhere to anywhere securely.
Within that, again, I want to talk a little bit more about interoperability. Partnerships in the defense industrial base. I know General Hawk talked about that yesterday. Where does that interoperability fit in there when there's this constant evolution of products and innovation, all those kinds of things?
Yeah, so I think we talked other folks on the panel talked a lot about, a model shift where industry is our partner, is core to our organizational design. For example, in our PEO digital organization that really executes a large part of the portfolio I oversee, they have gone from a government-owned contract-operated model to a government-owned, government-operated contract-supported model so that we are all embedded working together side by side with our Cyber C2 operators. When we were launching Flank Speed, we had, and we still do have, Microsoft folks sitting down at our NCDoc and our network comms so that as problems arise or issues arise, the teams can get together, huddle, and solve the problem more quickly than making a phone call, putting somebody on contract to fix that thing. We can move at the speed of relevance and be more responsive to our customer base. And so that's a model we see perpetuating across everything that we do. Moving to the cloud, having cloud be a key part of our interoperability strategy requires standards guardrails. We're going to be a multi-cloud organization. How do we get interoperability across clouds? One of the things we're looking at is how to build a platform orchestration layer that will work with every cloud and not be specific to a cloud, if that makes sense to you.
What kind of challenges come up from that, though?
Oh, well, making sure that we build a tool suite in our platform orchestration layer that can work with all the clouds. And then another challenge is obviously being able to secure all of that whole hybrid multi-cloud environment and not be buying tools that are specific to each cloud from a cybersecurity perspective. What is our cybersecurity our cyber C2 portfolio of capabilities look like that are support all of our cloud ecosystems, but are not cloud specific, particular cloud specific, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I'm always curious about that because there are so many different individual ones. I want to switch to the 2020 information superiority vision. You talked about updating that.
Yep.
And you mentioned data, so let's talk data.
Okay.
How is that moving forward, and how is this more data-centric updates to it coming along?
Yeah, so we are pivoting from the ISV 1.0, we're calling it now, to ISV 2.0, and we hope to actually publish that next week. So we'll send you an inaugural copy.
Sure.
And the core kind of 3 pillars, the objective stayed the same between ISV 1.0 to ISV 2.0. Securely move data from anywhere to anywhere is still really at the core of what's driving our activity. We were at Modernize, Innovate, and Defend. And what we learned is that innovation needs to take place everywhere. And so it needs to be a core foundational activity that supports our key pillars. And we went from modernize to optimize, recognizing that we're always going to be in this state of transforming, because that's just the nature of our technology. But how do we do it efficiently and effectively, reducing complexity, buying once, using often, or building once, using often, getting to enterprise services, really changing our operating model of how we deliver these capabilities in an optimal way that allows from day one, $1, the acquisition community or the sailor at the edge to actually be leveraging capability and or building new capability. So that is optimized. On the secure front, we went from defend to secure because it's not just about enabling that our cyber C2 operators have what they need to defend our ecosystem. It's also about our building and designing capability up front with cybersecurity front and center at mind. And so think about it as that if I'm building a new program or I'm modernizing an existing program, my customer is the warfighter, but my other customer is the cyber C2 operator. They have to be able to defend from design all the way through disposal. And how do we, and so shifting the mindset from defend to secure, thinking about security at every phase of our life cycles. And then the last area is decide. And decide is really recognizing that data used to be kind of an enabling, a supporting role in the first ISV. Really was we moved to zero trust and think through really what is at the core. We used to use this analogy: protect the chalice, not the moat of a castle. So if data really is our chalice or a chalice of the thing that's important to us, how do we design an ecosystem that is about protecting data, and how do we get away from activities that are not that don't get us there? So we are looking at data as core to this activity, and being able to leverage data for decision making and getting it to the tactical edge as quickly as possible. What kinds of things do we need to be able to do? Well, we need to be able to prepare our data. So data tagging, data management, data preparation, that is going to be a core effort in ISV 2.0. We need to be able to connect our data. And so that's really our optimize pillar, working with our data pillar, our decide pillar, and talking about what does an optimal ecosystem architecture look like that allows us to maneuver data. And there's a secure element of that. How do we keep our data secure at the data layer is different from how we think about securing our ecosystem today. And so what changes would we make to our architecture and our concept of employment and security if we're really focused on data? And then the last piece is the using of data. And that is where we're bringing in, lots of talk about generative AI this year. First, we got to make sure that our ecosystem can support generative AI. We talked a little bit about that on the panel. Power, compute power, and security are critical to that, but also where can we experiment with large language models? Where can we elevate the utilization of natural language processing, machine learning, and other AI techniques to really provide usable information to the warfighter and not have the warfighter be that integrator at the edge of data, if that makes sense to you.
That makes the decision time frame, I imagine, much quicker.
Yes.
So you talked about the different security at the data level. There's been a lot of talk about the perimeter. That brings in zero trust. How does this factor into that data security?
Zero trust is core kind of to our whole ISV. Most of what we're doing from an optimized, secure, obviously secure and decide perspective is living and breathing those zero trust principles and really designing with security and operating with security in mind.
The race for talent. I've every time I talk to you, I talk about this because it is something dear to me, and I imagine dear to you. You
Yeah.
got a lot of people that you have to bring in and keep around. How does the Department of the Navy win the race for talent?
We have really interesting mission sets and really great opportunities to come in and innovate and bring your ideas. And that is the culture that I perpetuate as a leader in this field. It is my job to get out of the way of the innovators, but make sure I remove the roadblocks that keep them from being able to innovate and encourage that kind of dynamic, that environment. People get jazzed really quickly about that and want to be a part of that energy that comes with innovating and doing things that are cutting edge and not business as usual. And so part of it is creating culture that attracts people, and we're having really good luck with that. We're also recognizing that some of our folks don't want to, work that way. Don't want to work. They want their traditional. They want to be the contract manager. Or they want to do a more traditional government role when it comes to developing and delivering capability. That's okay. There's a place for them. Maybe not ultimately in the space that we're trying to drive through this operating model, where we're constantly operating, sustaining, but always looking what's the next thing coming and how do we pilot and experiment with that so that we don't have a lag with where technology is going, and that we can be at the top of our game against the adversary, because they're not bound by many of the rules that we're bound by. And so living within our rule set, but stretching it out at the edges so that we can move more quickly, more agile, and give the warfighter the thing that they need today, not in 3 years from now.
Yeah, certainly the time frame always has to be quicker and quicker and quicker as the pace of technology moves.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, great. Good to see you.
Yes, great to see you.
Thanks.
This interview is also brought to you by Fortinet Federal. How can your agency improve network visibility, control, and cyber defense? With advanced technology and expert support from Fortinet Federal. Advance your mission with modern, trusted networks that connect data centers, clouds, and remote users. For more, see fortinetfederal.com.